The story begins with a moment sharp enough to break the quiet winter air. Aron stood in the middle of the small cabin yard, still wearing the red Santa coat from the charity event he had been volunteering at, when he saw her, Mira, leaning against the wooden post with her hands trembling violently. Her mascara wasn't smudged, her face wasn't wet, but the kind of heartbreak she carried was so deep that it didn't spill outward, it stayed locked inside her chest, suffocating her slowly. She whispered that she didn't want to spend Christmas alone, and for a moment Aron felt something tighten in him, something he hadn't felt in years, as if someone had finally spoken the very sentence he himself never admitted out loud. Right here, at this quiet cabin in the cold afternoon glow, two people stood, each pretending to be strong, each quietly breaking. If you believe in hope, compassion, and second chances, viewers of Ripple of Love, like, comment, share, and subscribe to keep stories like this alive. Aron tried to understand why her words hit him with the force of a long-buried memory. He wasn't the type to get shaken easily, but seeing Mira stand there with the Christmas lights reflecting softly on her face made him feel as though the universe had paused just to show him something, perhaps a reminder of the things he had lost. He had taken the Santa role at the town's charity event only because he didn't want to spend the day in his dim apartment, surrounded by silence. He told himself it was to bring smiles to children, to offer warmth to families. But deep down, it was a distraction from the echo of his younger sister's laughter that still haunted him, a laughter he hadn't heard since the accident 2 years ago. Christmas had once been her favorite day, the day she forced Aron to hang lights even if they tangled and frustrated him. When she was gone, the holiday turned into a cold space he didn't know how to fill. Mira, on the other hand, carried a different kind of silence. The type that didn't come from losing a loved one, but from being forgotten by the ones who should have cared. Her husband had walked out 6 months ago, leaving nothing but a short note and a divorce paper signed too neatly to match the chaos he left behind. And though she was strong and composed on the outside, her heart had been slowly collapsing under the weight of loneliness. When she saw Aron, standing in that Santa coat by the cabin where she had been trying to fix a fallen string of lights, she broke. Not because he was Santa, not because he said anything kind, but because he looked at her with eyes that recognized a familiar emptiness. The winter forest around them stood silent, tall trees swaying with soft winds, sunlight filtering through branches as if nature itself was holding its breath. The cabin belonged to Mira's aunt, who allowed her to stay there to recover from the emotional wreckage she carried. But isolation did not heal her. It magnified everything she was trying to bury. When Aron approached, she tried to steady her breathing, to appear calm, but her shoulders trembled ever so slightly. She explained that she had decorated the tree alone, cooked alone, cleaned alone, and tried to convince herself that Christmas still mattered. But the truth slipped out of her like an exhausted confession, she didn't want to spend Christmas alone. Aron felt his throat tighten. He had been running from his own loneliness, trying to outrun grief with work, volunteering, anything that kept him moving. But he saw himself reflected in her eyes. He saw someone exhausted from pretending everything was fine. Without thinking, he told her that Santa had already noted her wish, a line that should have sounded playful and light-hearted, but somehow came out warm and sincere, as if he wasn't just responding to her, but to himself too. He stepped closer, and the snow beneath them crunched softly. Mira looked at him like someone seeing a rare moment of kindness in a world that had not been gentle to her for a long time. Aron felt something tug deep within him, a string that had remained untouched since the day he lost his sister. The cabin's wooden walls behind her, the faint smell of pine, the Christmas ornaments swaying gently in the wind, all created a scene that felt frozen in time, two wounded hearts colliding when neither expected it. Throughout the afternoon, they found themselves talking as if they had known each other long before this meeting. Mira shared how she had lost her sense of belonging since her marriage ended, how the silence in the cabin felt heavy enough to crush her. Aron listened and saw parts of himself echoed in her words. When he finally spoke of his sister, Mira reached out and rested a hand gently on his arm, a touch so soft yet so grounding that Aron felt something warm ripple through him. It wasn't pity, it was understanding. The sun climbed higher, casting soft golden tones across the clearing. Aron helped her fix the tangled lights, their hands brushing occasionally, sending tiny shocks of unexpected comfort through both of them. Mira watched him with a curiosity she didn't fully understand. There was a gentleness in him, hidden beneath layers of pain he rarely revealed. He wore the Santa hat slightly crooked, his breath visible in the crisp air, his movements slow and careful as if afraid to break the fragile peace that had settled between them. Little by little, they walked toward their wounds, not away from them. Aron noticed the cracks in her voice when she talked about the Christmas mornings she once cherished, and Mira saw the way his gaze drifted to the sky whenever the conversation brushed too close to memories of his sister. Every shared confession stitched them together with invisible thread, pulling them closer with each passing moment. As the day grew brighter and the wind softened, Aron invited her to step outside the cabin yard. They walked toward the forest's edge where sunlight spilled across frost-covered grass. Mira felt her heart lighten for the first time in months. Aron felt something unfreeze inside him. They stood side by side, watching the sunlight glimmer on the snow, two souls who had been quietly drowning now finding a piece of driftwood to hold on to. When they returned to the cabin, Mira paused by the decorated tree, her fingers brushing lightly over a golden ornament. Aron saw her eyes soften with vulnerability. She confessed that she had hung the ornaments hoping someone, anyone, would walk through that door and tell her she wasn't invisible in this world. Aron felt an ache deep in his chest. He wanted to tell her she was seen now, that her pain wasn't going unnoticed anymore. He didn't know when it happened, only that it did. A warmth began spreading through him, subtle but unmistakable, like a quiet dawn after a long storm. And Mira, looking at him with a mixture of gratitude and fragile hope, seemed to glow in the soft daylight. Aron suddenly realized that he didn't want to walk away from this moment, not when life had finally offered him something that resembled healing. Right before the final emotional closing, please comment below what moment hit your heart the most. As the sun began to settle gently toward the horizon, casting warm amber hues across the snowy landscape, Aron felt Mira step closer. She wasn't asking for rescue, and he wasn't offering salvation. They were simply two people choosing not to be alone anymore. The Christmas lights flickered softly as she looked up at him with eyes that carried both pain and possibility. Aron felt himself breathe deeply for the first time in years. The world, which had been silent and cold for so long, now felt alive again. He told her that Santa had already noted her wish not to be alone, and this time, the words felt like a promise, not from Santa, but from Aron himself. Mira felt tears gather, not of sadness, but of relief. For the first time since her world had shattered, she felt seen, held, and understood. If this story touched your heart, support it so more people can feel this warmth too. And in that quiet winter moment, surrounded by trees, lights, and a fragile newfound connection, both understood something powerful. Healing didn't always arrive loudly. Sometimes it came gently, wrapped in soft snowfall and unexpected company. Sometimes it arrived when a broken woman whispered she didn't want to spend Christmas alone, and a man carrying his own grief replied with a heart ready to believe again. And as they stood together in the fading light, they both realized that hope, like love, often returns in the moments when we least expect it.